You guys are having a great afternoon. I know it's Easter week, and so I know a lot of you guys are super busy doing all your Easter stuff. But let me just check here, make sure we are good to go live here. It looks like we're good. Looks like we're good. Looks like we're good. Okay, there we go. There's the volume there, so we're good. So just want to share, I know that pretty much all of you guys are hustling and bustling right now with Easter week going on, but wanted to jump in here because I know that you guys are doing a lot of Zoom. You have moved to like everything on Zoom. So Zoom meetings, Zoom phone calls, Zoom dates, Zoom hangouts, Zoom everything. And I know a lot of people are saying that they want to take like a major Zoom break after this whole thing is over. Actually, let me go ahead and share this. Go ahead and share this on your page if you guys can. That would be awesome. Let me just share this real quick. There we go. All right, so I just shared that. Hopefully you guys can share it too. But I know some of my friends are talking about, man, I want to take a Zoom break after all this, and I don't know that I ever want to be on Zoom for at least a long time. So, but now that we've gotten through, these first few days, few weeks of kind of fumbling through, getting onto Zoom, having some of your first leadership meetings on Zoom, we've kind of fumbled through a lot of that. So now I want to talk about, okay, so after Easter's done, how do you start maximizing Zoom? And it's no longer just, we're just kind of surviving on Zoom, but how do we actually start thriving on Zoom? Because we're on Zoom for at least another probably 3-4 weeks, at least. So, I know that most of you guys, the first week was survival mode. The second week, you kind of started fumbling through it. And this past week, it's pretty much been all about Easter, right? So now that Easter is going to be done next week, what do you do? How do you make Zoom work? How do you thrive with Zoom? And so I want to talk about that for the next few minutes. If you have any questions about Zoom or if I can help you out with, please leave a comment below and I'll try and get to some of those questions as we get along here. But also, how are you guys using Zoom? So leave comments below. How are you using Zoom? Questions about Zoom, and we'll get to those. But I want to talk to you guys about a couple of things, and I've got my charts back here that'll hopefully help us out here a little bit, okay? So a couple of things that you want to be talking about, right? Like we, as leaders, we want to have healthy leadership teams, okay? Like that's our goal as leaders. We want to try and have healthy leadership teams. And so there's 5 things that every healthy leadership team has that we want to talk about before we really dive into this. And the first one at the bottom here is trust. Every healthy leadership team has trust, okay? So they're building trust, they're working on trust. If you don't have trust, you really don't have anything else, right? And so if you don't have this bottom layer of trust, it doesn't really matter if you have anything else because people don't really want to be on that team. It's not really a healthy team, right? Okay, so the first thing, and we're talking about Zoom here, okay? And so these things are tough. These are things that are it's going to be a little bit tougher when you're talking about no longer meeting in person, right? So the first thing is trust. As a healthy team, you got to establish trust. The second thing is conflict, okay? You got to have healthy conflict. You got to be able to have people that are interacting with each other and they kind of get at each other's throat a little bit. They kind of, and then they ask for forgiveness and all those kinds of things, okay? The third thing that every healthy team has is commitment. People are bought in to the vision, the mission, the value of the organization and of that team, okay? So we've got trust, we've got conflict, and we've got commitment. Those are 3 of the 5 things that every healthy leadership team has, okay? And so we've got to develop those. The fourth one is accountability, okay? So a healthy leadership team has accountability. People are checking in on each other. Did you do what you said you were going to do? Have you accomplished the goals that you said you were going to accomplish? Okay, there's some level of accountability there. And then the highest level there, the fifth thing, is results. All right, results is the fifth thing. So the five things that every healthy organization, every healthy leadership team have is trust, conflict, commitment, accountability, and results. So what does this have to do with Zoom? Great question. Okay, great question. What does this have to do with Zoom? It's because a lot of these things are really hard to accomplish and they don't happen accidentally in a digital environment. Okay, it's a lot harder to establish all of these things when you're just in a digital environment. But I'm trying to say, and I hope that you can learn and are learning how you can still have these things in a digital Zoom environment. All right. So if we have Zoom meetings on a spectrum here, okay, on this side, you have this spectrum of let's go to lunch and let's hang out, right? Okay. So these are kind of like a lot of physical meetings. You have, let's just go to lunch. Let's all go hang out, go to lunch, talk about sports, talk about all these things. Well, we can't really do that right now, right? First of all, there's no sports going on really, so we can't really just hang out and talk about sports. You can't really get together physically and go to lunch. Okay, so here's one side, and then the other side of a typical is this real strategic, tactical type of meetings where we're getting down to it and we're making it happen. We're talking about strategies. We're talking about these, and a lot of you, that's where you've been this week with Easter, right? We're talking about Easter. What are we doing? How are we going to get it done? How are we going to make this happen? Real tactical, real strategic. That's the spectrum. And typically, when we get into Zoom environments, all we focus in on are these tactical meetings. And it's about what are we doing? How are we going to make it happen? When's it going to happen? Who's doing it? All that kind of thing. Or some teams, they jump over and they started to have some just relationship buildings. Some let's get together for lunch. Let's just kind of hang out and chat. And there's just this kind of this spectrum of all relationship, all tactic. Those are kind of a high level. What I think most people are at is it's just kind of like this meeting stew. It's like this meeting stew where we're kind of doing all of it at once. It's like we're talking about lunch, we're talking about not sports, we're talking about the weather, we're talking about tactical things, we're talking about all stuff. And the illustration there would be this: is like if you and your wife are sitting, brushing your teeth, maybe not sitting, maybe you're standing in the bathroom, brushing your teeth, right? And you lean over and you're like, hey, should we buy a new car today? Hey, who's taking the kids to whatever today? Hey, have you bought these at the store today? Hey, what do you think about maybe having another baby? Hey, and it's like all of these conversations, all of these things are happening at one time. That's like a meeting stew, and it doesn't work very good. And then in the middle of the day, your wife's like, oh, hey, by the way, I bought a new car. It's like, well, wait, that's just too much happening all at once. And so what I'm saying here is this, is the number one thing right now that you guys need to be focusing in on is trust. Establishing trust is the number one thing that we've got to be focusing in on right now as we work with our teams in this digital environment. So lunch over here, tactical, is kind of where a lot of people are at, or you're in this meeting stew where it's all happening at once. But I think that there's another one that's there's some in between here, which is like this open door Zoom meeting. And what do I mean by that? Well, there's a couple of things in here. One is I think that especially for upper leaders, we should really be having some meetings where all we do is just have this open door policy where it's, hey, I'm here, I'm available, let's talk. How are you doing? How's the quarantine going? How's your family? And it's just this casual conversation about how are you doing? Because again, the number one thing we're trying to accomplish is trust. And what's happening is a lot of people are saying, man, I haven't talked to my leader. All I've heard is about we got to accomplish these things, or we got to do this stuff, but we haven't really had life together. And when we do have Zoom meetings, typically it's just kind of get down to the business, kind of make it happen. And so what I would suggest is during your Zoom meetings, open up five minutes early. I mean, it's just like a physical meeting. Typically the doors open 5-10 minutes early. People are kind of coming in a little bit later, just kind of how you doing, how's shop, and then you kind of officially get started at that official time, right? But the door is open. People are there a little bit early, just kind of talking about life. And it's not just as soon as everyone pops on Zoom, you instantly just get down to business and you start going for it. So I would say is open the Zoom meeting up a few minutes early and allow some breathing room, or just start a minute or two early, but then just have 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes of just how are you guys doing? How's life? How's the quarantine? How are your kids doing? What's going on? And it's just, you begin to have that casual environment where you are just checking in on how are things going. So a couple of meeting options that I would suggest is I would suggest right now, again, you're focusing in on trust. You're going to try and get to conflict. You're going to try and get to commitment. You're going to try and get to accountability. You're going to eventually try to get to results. But right now, your primary focus is building trust. And one of the ways that I would suggest you do that is to have a daily check-in. Maybe it's, and again, coming back to a physical environment, a standing meeting where it's a 5 to 10 minute meeting at the beginning of the day and maybe at the end of the day, where you guys just kind of check in. Hey, it's 9 o'clock. Everyone jumps on for 5 minutes. How are you guys doing? Hey, what are you guys going after today? How can I celebrate? Or, how can I help you today? How can I champion you today? And then at the end of the day, maybe it's 4:30. You jump back on and, hey man, what did you accomplish? How can we celebrate you today? And so a check-in and a check-out every day. And I would really caution you to be really strict on those, because again, in this environment right now, you're going to have a lot of people that are, the kids are at home, they're working from home, that life and work are integrated. So I wouldn't be super strict that everybody has to be on every single one of those check-in at 9 and check-outs at 4:30 or whatever it is. I would say, hey, we're going to make it available. We'd love for you to be in and out of those as you can. But I'd suggest a check-in and check-out. Again, it's kind of a standing room environment where it's, hey, it's a 5 to 10 minute thing. We're just going to celebrate each other. Another Zoom meeting that I would suggest is a weekly update. A weekly update. If you haven't seen Simon Sinek's kind of mock Zoom meeting, I highly suggest it. I'll put it in the comments after we're done here. But I highly suggest that. And what they do is they have a question that they ask every week. So it's a different question every week. They send it out ahead of time. Everyone kind of thinks about it. But like in the example, I don't remember the exact question, but it was something like, what's a tip? What tip would you give to someone who's new to working at home, right? And they just kind of go around and people give some tips and things like that. Or, maybe for you, hey, what was this week? Hey, what was a highlight of Easter for your family, right? And so everyone just kind of shares a little bit about that. Okay, so a weekly update meeting. Hey, here's where we're going. Here's what's happening. Let's connect. Let's build relationships together. Another one is a topical meeting. Another topical meeting is, hey, we're going to talk about this topic. All right, we're going to talk about how to do outreach in the midst of what we're doing. We're going to talk about how to improve our worship experience online. We're going to talk about how we're going to improve our Facebook Lives. Okay, and so we're going to have specific topics that we talk about at that meeting. Okay, we're trying to get away from ministry stew or meeting stew, or we just talk about everything at once. So we're going to have these different types of meetings that are going on. I'm sure a lot of you guys are already planning this one, but a review. Okay, where you review things. Hey, let's review the Sunday morning service. Let's review some of our Facebook Lives. Let's review that feeding distribution. Let's review these. And so we're going to have review meetings. Another one is, and this is, again, where we're going to start getting into this middle ground here where it's not just lunch, it's not just tactical, but we're getting into these middle ground here where it's not the extremes. But one is, I would say, have a work hangout. A work hangout. Hey, so there's 3 or 4 of you guys that typically work near each other. All 3 of you, all 4 of you log on to a Zoom, put your camera or your phone, your laptop somewhere kind of in the corner there, and you all just work with that Zoom open. And as you're working away, you're not talking to each other, you're just kind of there, but it's just like your open door in a physical environment. You can turn to someone and just say, hey, George, what do you think of this? And I'm working on this project. Now, what do you think about this real quick? And you can just turn to them real quick, just like you would as if you were down the hall from each other in a working environment. Another one is over here is to have lunch and just say, hey, let's 4 or 5 of us, everyone at 12:30 today, grab your lunch. We're going to jump on Zoom. And as we eat, we're just going to hang out and have lunch together. Okay. This is one that I would, this is again, in this middle right here, is this open Zoom where, especially if you're a senior leadership, or maybe you're a staff, you've got multiple staff members, maybe you're a multi-site team and you want to get your whole campus. Again, maybe you're the campus pastor and you just say, hey, I'm going to be working from 1 o'clock to 4:30 today. I'm just going to have my Zoom open. Here's the invite. Here's the link. If you want to jump on and you just want to talk for a few minutes, jump on. But I'm going to be working in my office with Zoom open. If you want to hang out and talk for a few minutes, go ahead and do that. I've been hearing about big time CEOs, big organizations that these guys are spending 3 hours of their time just connecting with their teams like this, because they understand that trust has got to be built in a significant way right now. And when we're all separated, we are all divided up like this, it's so hard to establish trust. And so just spending some time connecting, how are you doing? How are things with your family? I'd really encourage you. So here's some goals. I want to talk real quick about 4 goals that I think you should be thinking about in this time as you're planning your Zoom meetings, as you're thinking through Zoom meetings. Here's 4 goals, okay? Number 1, we've already talked about it, but I can't overstate it enough, is trust. Trust, trust, trust. You got to build trust right now. The biggest thing you got to focus in on is building trust. A lot of people have a lot of questions about what's going on. What are we doing? Where are we going? What's going on? Building trust. Okay, we don't have all the answers, but you can trust us. Okay. Number 2 is clarity. Bringing clarity to what we're doing. A temporary rally cry is what I've been talking about as well, is building this temporary rally cry. I know this is not what we are permanently, but this is who we are currently. And so building clarity as to what we're doing. I know that there's a lot of clarity right now because it's like Easter. We're all doing Easter. We're all focused on Easter. We're all getting people towards Easter. But what are you going to be doing after Easter next week? What are we doing? What are the goals? What's the wins? What are the losses? All kind of stuff. So build trust, build clarity. The third thing is over communicate. I can't say this enough. Over communicate. So I say it, over communicate. Emails, text, Facebook Lives, emails, personal phone calls. A personal phone call is huge right now. So many people want to just get out of Zoom and just do a phone call. All right. So personal, just over communicate everything. Bullet point, whatever you can do to over communicate. And then number 4 is reinforce clarity. Reinforce clarity. Bring clarity. Bring more clarity. Bring more clarity. Be simple. Be clear as to what you're trying to communicate. All right. I hope that's helpful to you as you're navigating this world of Zoom. Here are some things I think you guys can be doing and thinking about as you guys move forward past Easter. Here's some things I think you can do. Here's also something that I would like to offer for you. I like to offer you some free coaching, some free dialogue, some opportunities to jump on a Zoom call and talk through how you can maximize your Zoom meetings, your virtual team. I want to offer you the ability to jump on a call for 45 minutes and just strategize how you can maximize your Zoom experience with your team, with you or with your whole team. I also would also like to offer up a 1 hour, again, free 1 hour team building activity for you and your whole team. We'll jump on a Zoom, everybody together, and we'll walk through some of this stuff. I've got a 1 hour activity that with all kinds of conversation, dialogue, and it builds trust, builds open, honest conversation. So it's a free thing that I like to provide for you guys and your team. But however I can serve you guys in this time, would love to be a part of that. So hopefully this was helpful. Feel free to share this with a friend, and we'll see you guys soon.